A leading figure in Islamic finance has called for stronger ties between ASEAN and Arab states to counter global uncertainty. Azman Mokhtar, chairman of the Malaysia International Islamic Finance Centre Leadership Council, discussed regional cooperation and Malaysia's 2025 leadership of ASEAN with CNA's Afifah Ariffin from the sidelines of the World Investment Conference in Riyadh.
There's a certain rhetoric that basically says globalization may be in retreat. There's some truth in that, of course, with the rise of geopolitics, great power rivalry, and so on, and the prospects of tariffs, for example, coming through in what Mr. Trump has already announced a series of disruptions that he hopes to do. For example, the Ministry of Government Efficiency in the United States, right? But in spite of that, actually, the reality is trade flows. We are seeing healthy growth. Malaysia's investment record, as you know, has been strong. Government has been able to deliver strong investment numbers, as well as in ASEAN and certainly in Singapore. So the uncertainty in terms of the multilateral system, I think regional cooperation will be key, for example, between GCC and ASEAN.
On that note, Tan Sri, what role do you think the GCC can play in sort of fostering ties with ASEAN to promote the region as a balanced player in this increasingly uncertain multipolar world?
I think there's a lot, and a lot is being done, to my understanding. First of all, as I said, the precursor to before we start talking about cross-border, cross-region collaboration and cooperation, which is of course ongoing, each country will need to build its own strength within their countries, right? Because otherwise it is difficult to start talking about trying to collaborate across regions. So in that regard, of course, the Saudi economy is the key economy within the GCC. I think the kingdom, of course, assumes the mantle of leadership in the Gulf. And given their significance globally as a G20 country, as the world's largest oil producer and so on, I think increasingly we can see they're playing a bigger part in terms of regional and indeed global geopolitics and geoeconomics. So in that regard, I think building what is traditionally close ties certainly between Malaysia and the kingdom and the Gulf will be part of that story, right? And then of course, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, I think these countries, we are all benefiting, ironically somewhat, I think with the supply chain reconfiguration, for example. So when the superpowers, there are some tensions there. I think ASEAN has always been a zone for peace, for neutrality, for growth, for prosper thy partner, if you like. So in that regard, these are, even during this rather uncertain times, I think these two regions, the GCC and ASEAN, I think the prospects for growth and indeed collaboration is strong.
Tan Sri, looking at ASEAN, Malaysia is ASEAN chair next year. So in this world marked by Trump's return, escalating US-China tensions, what can ASEAN do then as a bloc and under Malaysia's stewardship to sort of manage this rivalry and ensure the region's economic resilience?
Globalization may be facing some challenges, but the trend is still there. It's just that the sands are shifting, and so you need to understand this trend, which I think the leaders in ASEAN and certainly in Malaysia understand that. Maintaining our own economic sovereignty while also attracting investments, for example, building on all the various efforts that's been done. Of course, there's a new leadership in Indonesia, which is of course the pivotal country and the largest country within ASEAN. As you know, Malaysia and Singapore, the special economic zone, which heralds well for bilateral and indeed regional kind of cooperation. Thailand, of course, has a relatively new prime minister. So, and Vietnam, of course, has been benefiting from some of that supply chain reconfiguration, and indeed other countries within ASEAN. So again, if you scan around the world, there's not many regions where you have a combination of stability, growth, neutrality where all the different blocks of the world, because unfortunately the world, there is evidence that it's going into different blocks. So China on one side, US and indeed Europe, not to forget, has been converging on Southeast Asia for a long time.